Mitch Marner will be by at 6:15. I just want to go over this. He is participating. This is his Marner Assist Foundation that he and his family have created. It's year number 5. Makes a difference for children and youth in need through the development of grassroots initiatives, fundraising events, strategic partnerships, donors. The foundation has created a strong team of change makers dedicated to strengthening communities. I mean, that's what that's about. I remember we were there. We did a live show, which would have been, this was the tailgate thing today. Tomorrow's the actual event, and we would have been there in 2019. That was the year before COVID. And it's at Vaughan. It's at the Sports Village in Vaughan. And this was a well-attended event. It was great to see, to say the very least.
No, it's a great endeavor by Marner and his team and
his teammates. Some of his teammates will be there.
Yeah, I was looking at the roster here. A lot of guys, a lot of familiar names on the roster. Morgan Riley's going to be there. John Tavares, Jack Campbell, his old pal. Anthony Cirelli from those dastardly Tampa Bay Lightning will be there. Sarah Nurse from the Olympic women's team is going to be there. So it should be a great event and a great cause that Mitch and the Marner family have really taken on.
And over the years have raised $1.5 million. So Mitch will show up around 6:15 or so. We're trying to squeeze in a supplemental Yes Guy, No Guy segment towards the end of the broadcast tonight. And we have Shawne Merriman stopping by, the founder of Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. And he's got a big date coming up, so we'll try to get into that. But let's return to the LeBron story. And last night in the ESPYs, sort of put down the retirement talk. Let's listen to that particular clip, and he maps it out for us.
I don't care how many more points I score or what I can or cannot do on the floor. The real question for me is, can I play without cheating this game? The day I can't give the game everything on the floor is the day I'll be done. Lucky for you guys, that day is not today.
Hey, look, LeBron's a lot of things, but he loves his drama. Like he loved leaving everybody dangling after the season, saying he had a lot of things to think about. I don't think many people that know him and have followed him from the beginning believe that he was even considering retirement. But of course, he had to have his moment on the ESPYs where they brought him up there with great fanfare, and rightly so. I mean, it was commemorating him breaking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record this season, and that's what the ESPYs is all about, just celebrating excellence. But yeah, I think it was far-fetched to believe he was going to retire this year. He had a great year. He had an excellent year. He was a highly effective player at age 38, and I don't see that changing. And guess what, Jim? His son Bronny's projected as a top 10 pick of the 2024 draft. He's talked about his long-time desire to play on the same team as his son. He's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Well, and that's the challenge for him. I think if you go back in your memory banks about how Kobe drove it to the end, and Michael Jordan, and obviously you're competing with your ghost at some particular point just because you're not the younger version of yourself, and you have to find a way, I would think, mentally to accept your performance or to fine-tune things so that you could accept how you're playing, because it's not the same. Yeah. It can't be the same, but it has to be at an acceptable level. You have to feel, I would suggest to you, that you are doing the job and you are contributing. And he sort of mapped it out there. There will be a day when he's going to play a game and he's not going to be happy with it. And if he's convinced that he's not going to be able to regain that form or live up to himself, that's when you call it quits.
Right, but I don't see that close. Like he averaged 29 points a game.
I would suggest to you that the way he is now, you won't see it. But if there's look, when he went up for a slam and landed on his ankle, and that happens to everybody, but it has a little more, it resonates a little more when you're his age.
No doubt. But he's been the most durable player we've ever seen, Jim. Like he seems to defy the laws that a lot of people live under. Right?
Well, just in your own memory, when you saw him go through the paint with speed, all you could do was get out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an imposing sight.
The Raptors were experts at getting out of the way.
Actually, the shot I was thinking of was when Rudy Gay had just joined the team, and we had a radio, the sweet thing, and I looked at it, oh my gosh, get out of the way. I mean, this guy was like...
Yeah, and they were showing his career highlight reel last night on the ESPYs, and of course one of those was that little bank shot that led to the Raptors getting swept back in 2018, the year which led to Dwayne Casey getting fired, which led to Masai Ujiri trading DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard, and so that was another one of those ones where they just got out of the way and let LeBron do his thing.
Well, I mean, that was a smart move.
I guess
You were going to get hurt.
Masai Ujiri wasn't too happy about it. He went into the coach's office and tore a strip off everybody in there.
One of the other issues that goes around is LIV and PGA, and it's referred to as a merger, but really it's a LIV buyout of the PGA. I mean, in a lot of respects.
The LIV funding of the PGA, but
Yeah.
the PGA Tour says they still got control, Jim.
Well, sure, it's for day one, but at some point, people with the money do take over, or I guess the better way to put it is you're going to do what they say, or they're going to take over because it's their money.
That's the thing I find laughable about this is that Jay Monahan, the CEO of the PGA Tour, has assured his players that no, we're still running things here, and yet the person that's going to have all the money, which is of course the guy that is often called His Excellency, at least in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and goes by the name of Yasser. Yasser's going to be the chairman, Yasser's going to be the CEO, and Yasser's going to have the purse strings of the place.
Yeah.
So the idea that the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan are actually in charge, they may be in charge technically.
Well, they may think they are.
They may think they're in charge. But I think you and I, Jim, and I think anybody that knows even rudimentary business would suggest the person that controls the money is probably in charge in the long run.
And as the U.S. Senate investigates in trying to come up with a reason that it's not a monopoly, which is antitrust exemption, which they would be asking for, and only Major League Baseball has that. All the other sports do not, which means there can be rival leagues.
Yeah.
This is an interesting premise, and as the study goes on, things are revealed. And some of the stuff that's been revealed so far is, I guess the best way to say it is, not very flattering.
No, it's not flattering at all. And I mean, some of the stuff that's been tossed out there in these 254 pages that have been released in accordance with the U.S. Senate hearings, it's unseemly stuff. It's essentially, it's pay for play, right? It's including the idea that Yasser Al-Rumayyan would become, as a condition of this, massive influx of money from the PIF, this massive Saudi fund, that he would become a member at Augusta National and the Royal and Ancient Golf Club in St. Andrews. I mean, my understanding, Jim, is you don't ask to become a member of Augusta. They invite you. You don't ask them. I wonder how that'll go over down in southern Georgia.
Well, no, you are right, but that ask in a business deal is not out of line.
No?
I think there's all kinds of stuff that goes on in takeovers. And
the Green Jackets operate their own little business.
I agree with that.
In the confines of...
I'm not saying that I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying that they both happen.
Yeah, no, I just found that one funny because there was that long held legend that those who ask are often turned away and never invited.
I totally agree with all of that, but when you sell out, you sell out.
Right, but the PGA Tour and Augusta National are two different things. Right? The PGA Tour, there's separate entities here. The PGA Tour, Augusta National, the Royal and Ancient Golf Club, which runs, of course, the Open Championship, which will be starting up next week at Royal Liverpool. They're all separate entities, and they're the three most powerful forces in the game in a lot of ways, outside of the wall of Saudi money that's rolling into every sport, it seems, with Saudi's charm offensive to make themselves, I guess, better thought of on the planet in this, what some people call a sport washing endeavor. But I just think it's interesting that they're trying that. They're trying that way of getting in to the membership that is Augusta National, one of the most exclusive clubs on the planet, where it's generally the American old boys and their friends.
I don't disagree with anything you've said there. It's a business deal that has levels to it that have never existed before. That's probably the best way I could describe that. Rory has said, and we'll listen to it, that he would retire instead of playing live golf.
Right.
I know. If live golf was the last place to play golf on earth, I would retire. That's how I feel about it. So
seriously?
Yeah. Well, I'd play the majors, but yeah, I'd be pretty comfortable.
Well, yeah, that's spoken like a man that has hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. It's easy; he could retire at any moment. I love that about Rory. But he did. He made it very clear. He was here in in Toronto that day that the news dropped that there was this merger imminent, and he sat in front of the reporters assembled at the Canadian Open and said, "I hate LIV. I still hate LIV, and I'm never going to stop hating LIV." But that seems like it's less about principle than it is personal. Like, he and Tiger do not like. In fact, if you want to use the word hate, I don't think it would be misplaced. They really hate Greg Norman, who's been the driver of the LIV Rebel Alliance that has kind of poached players away from the PGA Tour and has led to this point in golf history where they're considering an unholy alliance with their enemy from Saudi Arabia. So
yeah, it's funny when you go down that road or when you do a comparable. I mean, you have to go back decades to find rival leagues, and the rival leagues were not well funded. They were, an attempt to sort of legitimize themselves with a merger at some point. But this is almost the reverse of what we've had in the past, and the dollar figures are just off the chart. We've never seen these kind of dollar figures before. That the upstart league would actually be better heeled than the established league.
Yes, right. You're right. Like when you think about the WHA in hockey and the ABA in basketball, especially the WHA. I don't know as much about the economics of the ABA, but the WHA, I think, speaking to a lot of the alumni from the NHL who played in the WHA over the years, I think it's generally thought that the presence of that rival league, even though it wasn't, to your point, well heeled, it definitely put pressure on the NHL to, improve conditions for the NHL players, right, and improve salaries specifically. Because
a lot of good came out of all of that, and I think you'd lump the AFL and the ABA in there as well. That at the end of it, when it all got together, it actually became a lot stronger.
Right, but you're right. The points in history are not comparable because we're at a point in history now where there are entities on the planet that have so much money that they cannot be denied. And that was essentially Rory McIlroy's point, was that these guys are going to keep coming with their money. They're going to keep trying to poach players with their money. And when you've got essentially a bottomless pit of money to compete against, as the PGA Tour sees the Saudi Arabian influence, you'd rather have those guys as your allies than your enemies, which is why they've come to this point in their decision-making process that we got to get in bed with these guys as much as we got to hold our nose to do it, and as much as we're going to take a ton of blowback, and including Senate hearings and who knows what else in terms of impediments from the point that this is a huge super monopoly, and there's all kinds of other reasons why it doesn't seem like a good idea.
Well, there's a lot of politics in this.
There's a lot of politics and it is hard to argue with the logic that Rory puts forth in that they got so much money that we can't compete against them ultimately. Therefore, we might as well make them our friends.
I don't think we ever had a thought process where we had the PGA in that position, that somebody else would just come along and literally buy them out or knock them over with money.
I think a lot of people thought that they would come together at some point, just because it's never a good thing for a sport to have a division of talent, right? To have some players playing over here and some players playing over here. Brendan Dunlop was in here yesterday. He made the point about, open wheel racing in North America when they had CART and the IRL.
Oh, yeah.
And they had the Indy 500, was still the Indy 500, but it didn't have the best guys, and it was silly.
Well, it's
and in a lot of ways, that sport may have not recovered from that. Although, the Toronto Indy's in town this week, and we'll see how they do.
That comes out of a legal fight.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact terms of it, but there was a disagreement which created the other circuit.
Right.
And that would apply here, but it's the discrepancy of dollars is completely uncharted water. I mean, that we've never seen that before.
No, you've never had an adversary that's this rich, and you wonder where it ends, right? With the Saudis, because they've flexed their muscles around so many sports now. They've flexed their muscles around Formula One and soccer and the list goes on and on. I mean, various women's sports, and you wonder, when do they say, hey, wouldn't mind having a piece of an NBA team, wouldn't mind having a piece, hey, we could buy the whole NHL with our money. We could buy, if the NFL changed their rules about ownership, single entity ownership, we could buy an NFL team or teams. They've got so much money they can do any of this stuff that they feel like doing, right? And it'll be interesting to see, because I think there was a point where everybody thought they're not going to be let into this club. They're too unsavory a character to be let into this club, given their history with human rights abuses and chopping up journalists with bone saws. And yet, here they are, right at the doorstep, and they seem to be, getting a pretty warm welcome.
Well, then you get into the legalese of can you deny? What are the grounds for denial of business?
Good question.
We'll explore that. We talked earlier about the Marner Assist Foundation. It was tailgate day today at the Sports Village in Vaughan, and it's the 5th annual Marner All-Star Invitational, as well as the action goes tomorrow. And Mitch is with us now. Mitch, welcome. How are you today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good. We'll get into some hockey later on in terms of the Leafs, but in terms of this event, I mean, this is year number 5. What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it means a lot. I was just saying in the last interview that, being 5 years and hopefully many more to come, it's just been a lot of fun, really just seeing it grow and get bigger and bigger and, just kind of exploding, I guess you could say. So it's been a lot of fun. It's a pleasure that a lot of athletes have taken time out of their busy schedules to come here and be a part of this. And, all the spots and everything that make this a part. It's kind of a special feeling. So I'm very excited about these next 2 days and, looking forward to getting started here in about 45 minutes.
So all your pals on the Leafs, Mitch, I'm sure they've all got busy summer schedules. They're all doing different things, but I know you've leaned on a few of them to show up. Who you got coming out for you this week?
Yeah. It's hard with a couple of them because a lot of those guys are kind of out of town and doing stuff right now. So JT's in for both nights. I got Mo coming in tomorrow. A couple of other guys, busy doing wedding stuff and out and about, trying to take their weekend. So those two are for sure. And we got a couple amazing gold medal winners coming out as well, and a couple other guys from other teams.
So, Mitch, if you go back to the start of this, I mean, obviously you had an idea. You've seen it grow. It's 5 years in. What's the best part of this for you?
I think that, this night tonight, it's a lot of fun. You get the older group in here that has a lot of cocktails. And then tomorrow, when the morning hits bright and early, you have a group coming that's 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds that are having a lot of fun, and then the next group, a group of 30, 40-year-olds or something like that you saw at the cocktail bar a little too often, and a little bit feeling it in the morning, and regardless, both have the same smile on and are willing to have the same amount of fun. So I think that's my favorite part, is just seeing the smiles on everyone, regardless of the age, and giving it their all.
So, Mitch, we'll talk a little bit of Maple Leaf land. What have you made of Brad Treliving's early moves in the offseason here with the additions like Ryan Reeves and Tyler Bertuzzi, and, of course, your old London Knights teammate, Max Domi?
Yeah, it's great. Very exciting. All three players, come with a bit of grittiness to them. Guys that like to get in people's faces and annoy people. So, they're also very good at putting the puck in the net, too, and being around the net. So it's very exciting. I'm excited to see how it's going to work out with our roster. And the great thing is, I think, especially those two guys can fit in anywhere. And obviously, Revo, what he's going to bring to the team and its intensity and physicality.
Have you had a lot of conversations with the new guys?
I've talked to all of them, just kind of, letting them welcome them in and, let me know if you have any questions about kind of living-wise, what to expect and anything like that. But everyone's been really great. All the guys have been great. They're excited and, looking forward to getting on the roster and getting forward to playing.
Now that you've had a bit of time to think about it, Mitch, sort of what was the lesson learned this year in the playoffs? Because obviously you guys made that, big leap that you hadn't been able to make, and you got over the hump in the first round, and then, you fell back a bit in the second round in the loss to Florida. What do you make of it now?
Yeah. Obviously still disappointing. You have a lot of high hopes for this team, and obviously they weren't met. So, nothing you can do about it now. It's all about getting ready for this summer, just trying to be the best prepared you can be for the start of the new season, and, just be ready for when the puck drops this year and be ready to do it all over again, and just take it day by day.
Obviously, there's 2 contracts have to be signed here, Austin and William Nylander. Have you talked to these guys? What advice would you offer them?
I think it's hard for me to really speak about their contracts. I'm not worried too much about that. I'm their friend before teammate, and that's the most important thing. And I've checked in on both. Very excited both are going to be able to attend my wedding, and that's really been the conversation, is just trying to figure that part out. But both guys obviously have a lot of passion and love for this team and want to be here. So hopefully everything works out. But I'm sure wedding weekend we'll get down and dirty a little more and, try to talk about what's going on with both of them. But, yeah, for right now I'm just trying to stay out of it, just trying to talk to him as a friend and, hope everything goes well and, got a lot of faith that it will.
So when's the wedding, Mitch? And how big are you going? Is this a blockbuster, or what are we looking at?
I'm not going to say the date of it because if I do, then I don't.
We weren't going to crash it. Don't worry.
Yeah. No, I trust you guys. I don't trust maybe the outside. So I don't need wedding crashers to come to my wedding. But,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, it's just it's going to be a lot of fun. We just got all of our family, friends, everyone that has been there along the way for us, and a lot of teammates that we haven't seen in a while. So we're very excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Mitch, thanks for your time. I really wasn't going to tell anybody the date, but it's okay. Thank you. I understand.
No problem. Keeping it close to the chest.
Yes, no, good call. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Have a good day.
Mitch Marner, the Maple Leafs Sports Village in Vaughan is where the action will be tomorrow. It's a great event, and year number 5. He's in a good mood.
Seemed to be. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't asking him with the exact date.
Sure you were. Come on, you're trying to trip him up.
I didn't know. Like, I don't keep up on Mitch Marner's personal life.
Yeah, where? What time?
Yeah, I just is it soon? Is it like, is it this? I guess it's this summer. I gather.
There's only 6 weeks left, so it's
probably out there
somewhere in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, good for him. Congratulations to Mitch on the nuptials and yeah, he did seem like he was in a good mood. He seemed in a good place. Seemed excited about the new guys, and
that's funny because I was going back in my mind to 2019 when we did the show from the Vaughan Sports Village in Vaughan. He was upbeat then. We had John Tavares on the air that day. He was upbeat. So that's 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
What would that have been after? Washington? Was that the first year they made?
No, that was 17, right? 19 would have been after Boston. The second Boston disappointment.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me. There's been so many.
Yes.
And in some cases, I was in this particular chair when they happened. Yeah.
Oh well, who's counting? And hey, it's summertime.
Yeah.
It's summertime. You don't have to worry about that right now. We got. You can brace yourself until April until you have to worry about that again.
Well, and that's the great thing for where they are is that it becomes increasingly. You have to be more creative on dealing with game 45 of the regular season because you know what it means.
Although this year,
as enjoyable as it may be.
I mean, this year you can make the case like, it's you got a new team basically. You got a lot of open spots to make up here. The depth is not going to be what it was.
Well, it's not going to be any different next year. You've got guys on 1-year contracts, so it either works or you re-sign or you move on.
The D is not as good as it was, so it's not like it's
as we speak now.
Right. As we speak now, we can't. I mean, we can't.
But having said that, the D, the development of concern for the D happened in the Florida series, did it not? And a lot of the counter is, well, they didn't score, but
that's true.
And it's factually true.
2 goals a game, 7 games in a row.
But I didn't like the way the D played in that series.
No,
and that was the first time I noticed that.
No, they were pretty good against Tampa. You're right.
Yeah,
pretty good against Tampa.
So that's like a late development story.
I think they got exposed a little bit with that, famous Florida forecheck that came at them pretty quickly, and I don't think they adjusted well.
Well,
they get the puck to their own end quickly enough, but it's a 5-man thing. But ultimately, the D guys have to make that first pass, and it wasn't delivered in the way you'd hoped on a lot of nights.
And it was the Panthers' forecheck because you'd see the one guy go in, cause problems with the lead player, and then the support forecheck was there, pass out and in.
Yeah.
So it was like like 3-on-1 almost.
Yeah, and we talked about it right out of the gate. I remember going in the room after game 1, and there was maybe even before that, and there was a lot of talk about the forecheck, and the Leafs were definitely aware of it. They knew it was coming. It had obviously been talked about in the video meetings and all the rest of it, and they just didn't adjust to it.
Well, and that's how you would describe any team that gets eliminated. And I think the Panthers would have said the same about Vegas at the very end. We knew what they were doing. We couldn't counter it or we couldn't do anything about it. Try as we did.
Sometimes you just get beat by a better team.
Yeah.
A team that's better prepared, a team that just matches up better against you than you match up against them. And I think that's what happened with the Leafs in Florida, and that's definitely what happened with Vegas and everybody.
That's right.
They just overwhelmed everybody.
That's right. Well, that's what happens when you win the Cup. Coming up next, we'll talk to Shawne Merriman. This is OverDrive on TSN 2 and TSN 1050. Oh, yes, guy. Final half hour for a Thursday. Jim, Tatti, and Dave Feschuk with you today and again tomorrow. You're watching on TSN 2, listening on TSN 1050. You're going to talk about Lights Out 10. Shawne Merriman, former NFL player with San Diego and the Buffalo Bills, is the founder of this. That's an interesting move, isn't it?
Certainly is. Yeah, he's a fighting magnet. Love it.
Yes, guy. Lights Out 10. Shawne is with us now. Shawne, welcome. How are you today, sir?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you?
Good. What's going on is Lights Out 10. So tell us about how you transitioned into this and what it means to you.
Well, for one, I started training MMA back when I was playing myself during the off season, and just fell in love with the sport. 2019, I ended up launching Lights Out Xtreme Fighting. We're now on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. If you guys don't have Fubo, get it. We got a huge fight coming up. Our next fight is August 26th in San Diego at Palma Casino. So this card is probably our biggest card we've had so far, but you guys, I believe, will be able to catch it live on Fubo Sports.
So when you train MMA, Shawne, as a football player, are there transferable skills there? Or is that a whole new territory for you?
Oh, no, there's a lot of similarities. In fact, between 2005 and 2006 when I started training, I got very, very good with my hands. That was my main reason for even training MMA in the first place. And, I talk to a lot of these guys who are still playing. I try to tell them, hey, pick up some form of combat sports because there's a lot of similarities that will translate on the football field.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. So I'm sure you still keep tabs on the NFL, and as does every American. I was wondering your take on the Saquon Barkley situation. The most disposable position in football is the running back, but he's been one of the best and at a bit of a contract stalemate. What do you make of this with him and the Giants as the deadline approaches where they're going to have to get a deal done?
Well, it's unfortunate, right, because he's done so much for them. And, yes, we talk a lot about the running back position being disposable and these guys being replaceable, but some guys just aren't that easy to replace. And he's one of them. He's done so much for that offense, so much for that team. And you can tell when he went down with that big knee injury, they were a completely different ball club when he did. They wasn't the same team. And you see now he comes back healthy and he's, doing what he does best. He turned that team around and given Daniel Jones and the rest of those guys an opportunity to progress on the offense side of the ball. So I get it. I understand the business side of things need to happen, but gosh, it's so hard to come across another Saquon Barkley. He's not one of those replaceable running backs. You plug in and you can go win with.
Shawne, I need some help here. I'm a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. I've been around for a lot of decades, and they've done nothing in my lifetime. And yet this year, there's optimism. It's at a level that I'm not comfortable with. Are you okay with it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I love the head coach, man. He's so damn passionate. He has a little bit of the old school mentality. I love that about them. He brought a toughness to that team that I think was lacking for some time. And I think the optimism come in because, guess what? Quarterback is not in the division anymore. It's Aaron Rodgers is gone. So when you have those opportunities where other teams they're getting worse and they're getting better. The Lions are getting better. They do have a real shot coming out of that division. No question about it.
Well, I'm glad you said Coach Campbell because when this is inspirational. This guy looks like he could play. In fact, he looks like he could be in Lights Out 10.
Oh.
No, he could. He could. You know what? He has an attitude. He could. He has an attitude and this aura about him that he could actually jump in the cage. I mean, he really could. But, I say this. So a lot of times your head coach trickles down. The way he coaches and his personality trickles down to the rest of the team. He's a great leader, man. And I think that he is what's been missing from that organization for some time now when they were dominant.
Hey, Shawne, I was curious when you're scouting for fighters, and I'm sure you're always looking for new talent for your Lights Out Xtreme Fighting League. Do you look to football? Like, where do you find these guys?
Yeah, well, I've been around the sport. We have our matchmakers are some of the best in the business, and we have the next up-and-coming superstars in the sport. A lot of these guys is looking for an opportunity to prolong their career, possibly go to the UFC one day and have that opportunity. And because we have viewership and we get eyeballs, it's on Fubo Sports and Fubo TV, fighters are more, they're reaching out now. Everybody wants to come and have an opportunity to fight on the Lights Out Xtreme Fighting card. But, yeah, no, absolutely. We have guys that are transitioning former football players. Look, a lot of these guys aren't going to have 10-plus year careers, right? I mean, they just – the NFL is a business, and that's how it goes. And a lot of them are still looking to compete. So we are actively transitioning some of these former guys who played in the NFL for a short period of time to lights out extreme fighting.
Wow, that's interesting. Hey, speaking of things that get eyeballs, HBO Hard Knocks is one of those shows that is got a pretty good brand name in the USA, and this year they've decided to take on the New York Jets and that little quarterback that some people have heard of named Aaron Rodgers as their main subject. How do you think the New York Jets and the Aaron Rodgers New York Jets are going to do as subjects of Hard Knocks?
I think it's going to work out well for him, and it couldn't be a better timing for Aaron Rodgers, right? For one, he's now introduced to the New York media alone. They needed a spark, right? They got a pretty good team. They're good on the defense side of the ball. They got great, really good wide receivers. They got a great team. And what they were missing is a quarterback that can compete in that division. And they got one. And so it's going to be pretty interesting, man. I love Aaron Rodgers for a lot of reasons outside of his play on the field. I think he's very outspoken. I think he's very upfront and very open-minded when he speaks and talks, even though it's not acceptable to everyone. He's just who he is. And I think it's going to work well for Hard Knocks.
What do you think it's going to mean to have Rodgers in that stacked division in the AFC East with your former team and a team that a lot of people in this area follow down the QEW, the Buffalo Bills?
That division just got a lot tougher, right? If Tua stays healthy, Miami's going to be tough. Aaron Rodgers now with New York's going to be tough. Josh Allen and that team they got with my former Bills, man, they're just stacked all the way around. They're going to add a few more pieces to the Patriots team. And so you have you got some real contenders coming out of the AFC West now. AFC East now.
Let me ask you for a comparison. I mean, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's really like Brett Favre too. What is the difference, or is there much of a difference in those two quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think Brett Favre he was just known as just being tough, right, making things happen. Aaron Rodgers, I think. Fundamentally is a better quarterback than Brett Favre was. But, it's hard to compare the two because of the times of the game. I was just watching on NFL Films the other day some of the old Green Bay Packers with Sterling Sharp and those guys, and the hits that Brett Favre took in his playing days and how he got up. And it was just a different time in football. But fundamentally, mechanically, I think that Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's go back to the Bills. Obviously there's been so much optimism. Not unlike Mr. Tatti's Detroit Lions, although on a different level. The Bills are been waiting to win a long time, and they've obviously had a lot of near misses in their history. But what do you think it's going to take, Shawne, to get the Bills from good to great, for lack of a better term?
They just need to get over the hump, man, and not give up those games that they should have won. In my opinion, they were a better team than the Bengals, but they just didn't live up to playing that day, right? There was a letdown. I know the weather was bad. They had some other conditions, but, man, in my opinion, they were a better team. And so they just can't have those letdowns and lose against teams that they should beat. And until they stop giving up those games, they won't get over the hump. But, man, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you got to be excited on what's to come and with that team and what they have now.
Shawne, as the season gets set to start, is there a team that you think can climb the ladder that maybe isn't getting a lot of respect at this point?
Well, Jacksonville, even though they knocked my guys, the Chargers, out of the playoffs last year, they're a team that sometimes you don't want to play, right? They don't have a lot of big superstars. They don't have a big play capability, but they're so damn tough. And the way they play ball, and on the defense side of the ball, when they get to playing well and they feed off each other, they have a lot of young, hungry guys. And just one of those gritty teams that you just don't want to play. They can run the ball well and throw these short passes and fight for every inch. Sometimes those are the guys that you don't want to face. You rather the teams who are looking for the big play downfield, who want to have a big star wide receiver. They got to get the ball 10-plus times a game. But they're just a team that's very gritty, and I think they could be a sleeper this year.
Hey, Shawne, to cross over to another sport that we haven't talked about, we were just talking about LeBron James. Obviously, got a big welcome at the ESPYs yesterday and confirmed that he will not be retiring from the NBA at age 38. I think you're around his same age, and you played pro sports for an awfully long time, but we were just talking about how long do you think this guy can play? Do you see this guy going into his 40s and kind of defying father time, or do you think the end is close?
It has to be close. I mean, look, the longevity of LeBron James, I know he gets a lot of slack and the comparisons to Michael Jordan and who's the greatest to play. We haven't seen anyone in the history of the game to have as much hype as he did coming from high school and living all the way up and having this longevity of a career. Like no one. And to tell you the truth, I don't think we'll see it again because guys are getting so much money that they don't have to play for 15-plus years anymore. So to have a guy like LeBron James, and by the way, this isn't just someone who's on the court. He's still dominating, right? He's still dominating, and he's still, is still, look at the top 5, top 10 best player in the NBA at that age, that many years. So in my opinion, I don't think we'll ever see a LeBron James anymore because times are just completely different.
So he said this line about not wanting to cheat the game. So I'm not going to use that line, but I'm going to say that as you get on in your career, you start to compete with your ghost. Does that make sense? And how difficult is that?
It's hard, man, because it's as a athlete mentally, we just always want to compete. You always want to go, and at some point in time, your body will start to tell you, like, hey, mentally, yeah, I can still go, but my body just is not going to take me there anymore, right? And so we've seen over the last couple of years, LeBron James, his game actually transformed into backing down guys a little bit more, being more efficient. And he's just, and a lot of people can't do that, right? When you lose a step, you can't jump as high, you don't move as fast. Guys are just slowly kind of fade out. And he just found a way to transition his game to still be dominant.
So, Shawne, I'm always interested. You said, you played in the NFL for an awfully long time. You had a great career. You've transitioned into the MMA world as a bit of a fighting magnet. But do you still get in the ring or the cage and still like to grapple?
Oh, I do. Yeah, a couple of days a week, actually. I'm still a meathead at heart. I always will be a meathead. So I'll still be in the gym 5-6 days a week. And then I'll go put on the gloves, 2 or 3 days a week and do some light sparring. And that's it for me. You talk to any former athlete, the first thing they'll tell you is when they retire, they miss the locker room, they miss being around the guys, the camaraderie, all those things. And so for me being in MMA, still being around these fighters, it is much like being in the locker room. And that part of it, I think I enjoy the most.
Shawne, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Shawne Merriman, and Lights Out 10, Saturday, August 26th. So that'll be fascinating. I just want to explore before we go to break. He said an interesting thing. So when we're talking about LeBron and not cheating the game,
yeah.
If you think about it, and this is the tough part that I don't think people understand about the elite athletes, is that you have to keep evolving. So you're not going to look at LeBron at 25 and do a comparison 5 years later because it's not the same guy.
No.
You can't play the same way. So I mean, for me, when he says cheating the game, obviously he wants a full, honest effort, but it's also the constant evolving. Now, he talked about how he changed how he's played in the last couple of years. Well, you always have to change, otherwise they'll stop you. So I guess at that point, you have to know within yourself if you're continuing to evolve or not.
And I think he has, right? That's
absolutely.
The thing. That's the thing that gives me the idea that this guy can keep playing. That LeBron James isn't done. That he'll play this season coming up, which will take him into the summer where his son is expected to be a top 10 pick in the NBA draft. Then there'll be some maneuvering there where he's going to find a way to.
Yeah, he has to play on the same team.
Get on the team with Bronny.
Yeah.
And so that's one more year to get there, another year to play with his son. Then there's all this talk that come 2025, when the new broadcast deal rolls around, there'll be expansion. And what's the other rumor?
Yeah.
That there'll be 2 teams, one in Seattle, one in Vegas. And who's going to be one of the owners in Vegas, if not the sole owner in Vegas? LeBron James.
Yeah.
Could he be a player owner? I don't know.
It's all mapped out, though, isn't it? Somewhere somebody has the roadmap to how this works.
Well, yeah. And it's paved pretty smoothly as far as I can tell. Because as Shawne Merriman just pointed out, like he's, this guy's not a bench warmer. This guy's averaged 29 points a game.
Yeah, he's not along for the ride.
35 minutes.
He stirs the drink. There's no question about that.
I mean, he's evolved. He doesn't run people over like the way he used to. He doesn't dunk like he used to.
But you constantly have to find a new way to do the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, you do, and he's done it. There hasn't been a smarter player in this league. If there has been a smarter player, it's a short list of guys. He's as smart as we've ever seen. On top of being one of the great physical specimens we've ever seen. On top of being one of the most competitive, driven athletes we've ever seen. It's such an incredible combination, and that's why we're sitting here when he's age 38 and having just broken Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's all-time scoring record, and we're talking about how he ain't done yet.
No, he's not done. We're going to step out because I think we have supplemental Yes Guy, No Guy next.
Wow.
OverDrive and TSN 2 and TSN 1050. Oh, Yes Guy, final segment for OverDrive, and I neglected to do this earlier, so I should get it out of the way now if I can find my paper. OverDrive is brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. And speaking of which, we have some grappler-like odds. By the way, grappler, Shawne Merriman stole, and Dave Feschuk helped him. Called him the grappler, so I don't know if you want to sue her.
I said, does he still grapple?
Which is a very common mixed martial arts term. Grappling.
Yeah.
Yeah, the grappler, grappling, they go hand in hand.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, go
You
ahead.
weren't offended by that, were you, Graps?
No, not at all. I'm used to it at this point. Although it is kind of weird, like, and sometimes you see grappling, whether it's, an NHLer grappling another. But anytime I see just grappling or grappler, it's like I notice it now, and it's very strange. But nobody cares about that. What they do care about are some FanDuel best bets, which are powered by, FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble the same game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Other than NBA Summer League, the one pro sporting game going on tonight that I'm going to bet on is the Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Edmonton Elks. For anyone who was listening in the first segment, they're probably not going to take my advice. But for anyone who wasn't, I highly suggest taking the Hamilton Tiger Cats on the money line. Anytime touchdown scorer by running back James Butler, and an alternate total in points at 38.5. I'm expecting that 19-game home losing streak for the Elks to turn into a solid 20. So anyways, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today and find thousands of ways to wager. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario.
Yes Guy, No Guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, drivers and passengers, time now for lickety-split Yes Guy, No Guy on the way out. Grappler, go ahead, sir.
Okay, Yes Guy, No Guy. Patrick Kane, who announced today that he will not be signing before the 2023-2024 season as he recovers from injury. Patrick Kane can still be an elite player in the NHL.
Ooh, I'm going to say No Guy. I think he's a support player now. No Guy.
Oh, that's a big no guy. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Okay, change it. Patrick Kane can still be an above average player in the NHL.
Yeah, Yes Guy. Yeah.
Oh, he can be a contributing player in the NHL, in limited minutes in a limited role. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Durability is the issue now. This is a guy who's deep into it, age 34, just coming off hip surgery, doesn't exactly kind of lend you to believe that longevity is in the offing. But I think there'll be a team that takes a chance on him just because the hands are still there.
Okay, Yes Guy, or what are we calling this? Preemptive or
lickety-split Yes Guy,
lickety
No Guy.
split Yes Guy, No Guy number 2. All right, I'll just move on from that. 2 Mondays from now, we will be talking about Rory McIlroy as the 2023 Open champion.
I'm going to say No Guy. I think that for whatever reason, it's the weirdest drought I've ever seen, but I think it continues.
Yeah, I'm going to be a no guy. I'm not betting on Rory. I got a lot of friends in my life who continually bet on Rory because they love Rory and they think, oh, Rory should win. Rory's one of the best players in the world. He's probably the best player in the world.
They're betting on the Elks tonight too, aren't they?
Probably betting on the Elks tonight to break the streak. But I just look, and I know he won the last time this tournament was at Royal Liverpool, which is where it's going to be played next week. Rory McIlroy emerged the champion. If I'm picking, I got Ricky Fowler.
Oh.
Okay. Well, and the tough part with Rory, it's like you want him to win, which is why I think so many people continue to pick him because it's something you want to happen.
People like Rory.
But watching that Open Championship last year at St. Andrews where Cam Smith just kind of backed his way into a title. Like it was so hard to watch. Like Rory could not make a putt.
Yeah.
So whether it's the putting, the drives, the irons, whatever, it feels like there is going to be something that holds him back. All right, we got time for one more quick one. Yes guy, no guy. Being on HBO's Hard Knocks will be a bad thing for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets.
Yes guy. That's the quarterback graveyard. So an emphatic hard letters or hard yes guy, all capital letters is what I'm trying to say. Yes guy.
I'm going to go no guy. Aaron Rodgers is, if we know one thing about A-Rod, as some people call him, although I think Alex Rodriguez should have some beef with that. A-Rod is a publicity hound. He loves all and any publicity. He loves attention. He loves being talked about. So to be on camera, to be the center of the preseason attention in the NFL, that's going to suit him very well.
We got to go. Thanks for stopping by. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place.